and welcome back to the 31 Days of Samhain. Today is week 2 and we will be diving into darkness today. This is the series created by Hatchlings for Hatchlings to learn, explore, and grow together while celebrating the magical, mysterious, wonderful season that we all know as autumn and Samhain time. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed and subscribe as I post new magical videos every week. There will also be a blog post for each day that will be available for you guys, linked down below in the description box, that are made by individual hatchlings posted in the Hatchling clan to learn a little bit more that I didn't get to cover in this video, as well as some new fun things like challenges for you to try. The darkness is upon us. As you all know, the nights are growing longer and the days are growing shorter, and this brings darkness to us. Darkness surrounds us more often during this time of year, and now is the time to embrace the darkness within ourselves, within the world around us, and especially within our crafts. That being said, let's dive on into the darkness. For day 8, we will be covering Deities of Darkness, and this is brought to us by a hatchling named Star. We will be going over all the different types of deities of darkness that there are: deities of the underworld, deities of moons, deities of the darkness in general, and deities who rule over more darker themes of the craft. When we are doing this exercise, connecting with deities of the darkness, even if you don't believe in the deities themselves, it's important to look at the personifications of these deities and how they can tie into your craft, as well as how they can tie into this year and how to invoke their energy to help maybe embrace the things that are a little harder and scarier to look at during this time of year. For example, many gods and goddesses are deities of the underworld, deities of war and chaos, blood, and all these things. When you really work with these deities, it's important to embrace their themes and embrace their representations and their symbolism, and use their symbols and incorporate it into your own craft. This can help you really embrace the darkness at this time of year, as well as make a connection with a deity that maybe you wanted to explore in the past, or maybe you've been a little too scared to try in the previous years during this time. To learn a little bit more about Deities of Darkness, as well as a fun little activity to get to know them and to get in touch with these dark deities, you can check out the post down below made by Star, who covers everything you need to know about the Deities of Darkness. Ooh. For day 9, we have Cursing and Hexing, and this is brought to you by yours truly. I wanted to cover the basics to Cursing and Hexing and the difference between them and why you would want to use some sort of magic like this. This type of magic is something that is not for everyone and is really important to really identify your intentions and where you're coming from before you perform Cursing and Hexing.
Now let's discuss the difference between Cursing and Hexing. So let's start with Hexing because it's the less intense version of the two. Hexing normally is casted to cause bad luck, misfortune, perhaps bad diarrhea for doing something that you don't want someone to do, and is performed, let's say, if you're like don't want anyone to steal from you, don't want anyone to trespass, things like that. So cursing is actually much more intense. These tend to last much longer, and cursing is known to just have to run its course. It's much harder to break a curse than a hex, and can even last generations within a family. Curses are really scary sometimes, so before you cast them, make sure you know what you're doing and make sure that you are fully confident in the fact that this curse is for the right purposes, and you're doing so not out of emotion but out of logical thought process, because that's the most important thing here. So to learn a little bit more, you can find out in the post linked down below, but that's all I have for Cursing and Hexing.
Those are the difference between the two, and if you want to learn more about Cursing and Hexing, when to curse and hex, some types and examples of how to curse and hex for protection and for baneful magic, please check out the post that I made linked down below for you for more information and a challenge that you can try. For day 10, we have Equinoxx covering shadow work. Shadow work is a huge deal. Shadow work is very important to do, especially if you've had some traumatizing experiences in your lifetime that maybe you just can't get over. It's a great way to embrace your dark side because remember, the dark parts of ourselves are so important to love and care for and accept just as much as the good parts. Because if we ignore the darker sides of ourselves, then we ignore a part of who we are. We completely lose the ability to be whole when we do ignore our dark side. So shadow work is all about getting in touch with that dark side and embracing that dark side, learning about it, discovering, exploring it, and truly embracing it as part of who we are so we may be whole with both light and dark qualities that we have. Shadow work can be done in a multitude of different ways, and it is very common to do divination for shadow work, as well as meditation, lucid dreaming, and many other ways. If you are interested in learning a little bit more about shadow work, then please check out the blog post made by Equinoxx down below in the Hatchling clan that will cover some different types of shadow work, some history on shadow work, kind of what you do with shadow work, as well as a challenge and activity for you to try for your own shadow work. Because shadow work, my friends, is essential. It's a huge part of my craft, especially as a practitioner of the draconic path. If you want to get in touch with the darkness a little bit, but don't want to explore some of maybe the baneful magic, depending on what path you follow, then I would definitely recommend trying shadow work to get in touch with your darkness because it's really truly going to help you understand that side of yourself more. So don't forget to check down below for the link to the post made by Equinoxx. So for day 11, we'll be covering Sleep Paralysis by Alyssa Marie, and this is very interesting for me because I personally don't really have any experience with sleep paralysis, but I have gotten many questions on the channel about what sleep paralysis is, how to break sleep paralysis, learning how to just navigate it in general, and where does it even come from? How does it even start? These are some things that I have been curious about as well. And sleep paralysis is known when you are conscious, but your body is completely paralyzed. And this is due to a chemical that's released in our body when we sleep that actually paralyzes the body so we can get some rest and not hurt ourselves while we sleep. But sometimes we'll wake up and be conscious before this chemical has left our body. That's what gives a sleep paralysis in a nutshell. But for those who have experienced it, it can very much feel like a paranormal experience, being pinned down by either a demon, a succubus, a negative entity, an incubus, anything that you can think of. People have experienced these types of entities pinning them down when they're sleeping in their most vulnerable state and not being able to move. People also express in sleep paralysis that you can't speak, you can't scream, and you can't call for help. So this is something that causes great anxiety. So how do you get rid of it? Well, in the Hatchling clan, we have a challenge for you to get rid of sleep paralysis if this is something that truly bothers you and plagues you. This is something that can be very traumatizing to those who experience it, so we wanted to provide a little bit of a challenge and tips and tricks on how to break this cycle. So please check out the post made by Alyssa Marie, linked down below, if that is something that piques your fancy. So for day 12, we have a special guest here. Michele is going to cover using poisonous and toxic herbs and plants in our craft. And many of us use toxic plants, many of us want to use them, even crystals that are toxic and maybe not so good for you to inhale or touch or digest. And it's really important, especially when you're working with these herbs, to be fully aware of the consequences and the dangers that come with them. So to learn a little bit more about that, marry me and welcome Michele.
Hey babes, I hope you guys are having a wonderful 31 days of Samhain. My name is Michele, and today we're going to be talking about toxic plant and materials in your practice. The first thing that I really want to just make 100% clear is that I am not a doctor, I'm not an herbologist, I have no degrees in anything to tell you what to do with your body, but I will tell you that I'm an avid gardener. I do a lot of research. I'm a huge research junkie. Anything that I give to you today is both from experts in these fields and from my own common knowledge. So take it for what you will. Number one, do your research. I've already explained that I am an avid gardener and that I am a research junkie. I love to do research. I find it fascinating. You might not find doing research fascinating, but when you're using toxic materials in your craft, it's very important to make sure that you are protecting you. And so research is necessary. Cross-reference things, use sites other than Wikipedia if you're going to use the internet. Make sure you're looking at scholarly sites or academic areas. Use books, use sites, use them together to find the same information. If you can find it more than 3 times, it's probably true. Really trying to do all the research behind what you're doing. Number 2, never touch anything that you can't identify. You think something is poison oak, but you're not really sure. Don't touch it. You know what I'm saying? Have common sense when you're out and about. Mother Nature is about balance. There's good things that she's given us that heal us and strengthen our bodies and our minds and our souls, and there's also bad things that don't exactly do the happy-go-lucky fun stuff for us. You know what I'm saying? Number 3 is animal friendly doesn't necessarily mean human friendly. So just be really careful about what it is that you're consuming, especially if you've seen an animal consume it, because odds are that that animal is able to consume it because its body is made to. Those are the things that it has in its natural habitat and not in your natural habitat. So be very careful about what you pick up and what you put into your body, regardless of what else has eaten it. Number 4 is it's a chemical. Chemicals are chemicals, whether they're from the ground or from a laboratory. So you really want to be careful with this one because plants are chemicals. We use foxglove and chemicals within foxglove, which is a plant, for heart patients. They're both chemicals. They're things that you don't know how they're going to interact with either other medications that you're taking, with just anything that's in your diet, or with your body itself. So you want to be really careful when you are touching things because you don't know how porous your fingers can be. Our skin sucks up things. It is a continuous, I want to grab everything that is around you. Things can get under your skin very easily, things can soak into your skin very easily, and you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. This next tip is more for people who live with other people. There's any little ones running around, any animals running around. You want to make sure that you're doing your part to make sure that they don't get hurt. Make sure that things are out of reach from little hands or little paws. That's all I have for you guys for today. I hope that you learned a little bit something. I hope that it wasn't just all common sense and Ashley, you're so silly. You guys have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your Samhain.
Thank you, Ashley, for helping us learn a little bit more about that. And if you want to learn even more, you can click down below to find Ashley's blog post within the Hatchling clan that covers these toxic plants, materials, and herbs that you can use within your craft. So for day 13, we have another special guest, Lagertha Scarlet, and she is here to cover binding and banishing. This is also considered a baneful type of magic and one that is also considered something as a last resort. Be careful who you bind, be careful who you banish, because you never know how that may affect you, especially if you're just casting out of emotion. Learn a little bit more about binding and banishing. Merry meet and welcome, Lagertha Scarlet.
Hello and merry meet. My name is Lagertha Scarlet, and I'm here to talk to you about my part of the Week 2 31 Days of Samhain event going on in the Hatchling clan. So for Week 2 of 31 Days of Samhain, I'm going to be talking about banishing and binding. So this is going to be a challenge that includes learning the difference between banishing and binding, as well as exploring your ethics in regards to these two magical practices. If binding and banishing is something you're interested in learning more about, or possibly including in your practice, the challenge will also include instructions and templates for creating a puppet of your own that you may wish to use in future binding and banishing rituals. There will also be no tools version of this challenge, so for those of you who cannot have magical tools, or for those of you in the broom closet, there will be alternatives for you to practice as well. So check out the link for the full challenge, and we look forward to seeing you over in the Hatchling clan.
So that is all we have for you about binding and banishing. Again, if you are interested in learning more, please check out Lagertha's post linked down below for you. It'll cover everything you need to know about binding and banishing, as well as an activity for you to try these types of magic, even if you've never done so before, or if maybe you need something like this in your life for whatever situation you may be going through. The link will be down below for you. And lastly, for day 14 of our 31 days of Samhain, we will be covering blood magic, also brought to you by Star within the Hatchling clan. This type of magic has been seen as very taboo, and many people kind of just like, not really sure that's for me. People think sacrificing and all of this horrible murder when it comes to blood magic. And while that does happen in some forms of blood magic, it isn't the only thing. You can also use like cutting your hand in your blood magic. You can poke your finger with blood magic. If you are human with the uterus, you can even collect your menstrual blood to use it as well in your blood magic. It really just depends, but it is definitely something not to be taken lightly. Because blood is the life force energy within us, it has huge magical power, huge magical properties, and really should not be taken lightly. Don't forget though that blood is a biohazard, so please exercise sanitation and really good hygiene practices when performing this type of magic. Keep alcohol swabs around you to clean up the area, make sure you're using sterilized tools if you're drawing blood from yourself, and always wash your hands before and after performing blood magic. It's also really important to use gloves in this sort of practice if you are using blood from somebody else, and even yourself if you may have some problems that are prone to that. If you are a hemophiliac, please do not cut yourself for this type of magic because that could be a problem. If this is something that you're interested in and want to learn more and want to try some for yourself, please click down below to the post that Star made all about blood magic so you can enjoy some spooky things in the darkness. So that's all we have for you guys today here on 31 Days of Samhain. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you did, and leave a comment down below letting us know what your favorite topic is from this week. I would love to know. Don't forget to check out all the hatchlings who made this series possible. I could not have done this without them, so please go support them, give them a follow, and check out their hard work on the blog post that they have made within the Hatchling clan if you have not done so already. I also want to give a special thank you to my patrons Lagertha, Scarlet, and Royland Navarro for sponsoring the channel and supporting my craft. I couldn't do it without you guys. If you're interested in some exclusive content and goodies that I offer over on Patreon, please click down below to find more information if you are interested as well. It is getting extremely close to Samhain, and the thinning of the veil is drawing ever thinner. So make sure that you stay safe during this time of year, especially when diving into the darkness. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful spooky evening. But until next time, stay geeky, and stay cheeky, and stay freaky, little hatchlings. But until next time, blessed be and bye. We're both made of water. Let my mind